Welcome back to Opa Podcast, episode 54. Today, we're doing something very special and very new. Today, we're going to do a two-parter episode. So essentially, we'll have one conversation at the start of the podcast talking about the last game, preview the next game, any hot takes, and then we have an intermission just for a few seconds to take a break, and then move on to the next section with the next group of hosts to talk more about the same topic, recap, and preview the next game with our different opinions and thoughts. As the reason for that, Wyatt and Griffin are unavailable tonight. It's better for them tomorrow. So hence, we're going to do it this way. But tonight, for this first segment, it's going to be myself along with Soup. Say hi, Soup.
Hey, what's going on?
So today, Soup, we're going to recap the game against Penn State last weekend and then also preview the next matchup, which will be our last Big Ten East opponent, Rutgers. So you ready?
Yeah, let's rock.
All right, let's move to recapping Penn State. So, quick reactions.
Sadness? I don't know. Do you want me to elaborate more than that, I guess? I can. I don't know.
Yes, please.
I think it was another game where you lacked consistency on both sides of the football. And that's like been a core piece of identity for the Gophers under PJ Fleck for the past 6 years, is that they've at least been consistent and disciplined, and they were not either of those things Saturday night.
I think from my reaction, just to preface this, I did not watch the full game. I had a Halloween party I was hosting, so I was off and on with the stream and looking at the box score and stats
You didn't really
online.
miss anything.
So my initial thoughts going from first to fourth, like just watching with a side eye, I thought the game was close after at halftime. Like I saw the score was 10-17. Oh no, initially I first saw the game we're 3-3, right? We're tied.
Mm-hmm.
And then I checked back in as halftime. We're down only by 7. Again, 10-17 or 7-17, whatever the situation was. Yeah,
Sure.
10-17 at that point. And I thought, okay, we still have a close game. I think defense was playing well, at least that first half. And I saw it in the highlight reels that it looks like in the first half we played pretty well on defense. And then obviously, Ethan getting the first start, I was expecting some rough pains in this game. But once I chimed in again after the third quarter and like, oh shit, they scored 3 drives
They had
to
three
make it
touchdowns in the third quarter.
38-10.
They put up
Obviously,
21 points in one
yeah.
quarter.
And then obviously we put up 7 in the fourth. Penn State puts another touchdown, make it 45-17. Game's over. So we're like down a huge like heck ton by like the end of the third quarter. And I was like, what the hell happened? And obviously, I didn't see any of it, so I watched the highlights and my recording from YouTube TV, and some things very sloppy, as you said, Soup. I was like, what the hell is with all these penalties? Like, this is not a usual PJ Fleck team when it comes to being disciplined on the field, obviously.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know why every time I went back. So essentially, when I was watching, I was like, oh, we're like driving down the field, then we make a mistake. Or in the case, one of the interceptions I saw, and I was watching it live when I chimed in, it was to Mike Brown Stevens. He didn't get separation, and the Penn State corner or safety that was on him picked it off and ran it back for a decent chunk.
Another interception throwing to Mike Brown Stevens.
Correct.
Just what are we doing? Can we stop? Can we just stop doing this?
Yeah, and I was like, and also like his effort to try to tackle the guy, like he was like, I know Mike Brown was already on the ground, but like, come on, man, like get back up, take the guy
Sure.
down, and like everything. But he does like he was already on the ground. He reaches his arm out to try to make a leg tackle. I was like, you're not gonna do that, man, or get that. I don't know. This post game again, I wasn't into this. I wasn't emotionally charged as I usually am when dealing with some of the losses this season. I was just like, quick notes, sloppy pay from the Gophers. Um, I swear, always a pick when we throw the Mike Brown Stevens.
I
Uh,
think it's like I think it's like he's got 10 targets and like 5 picks or something, which is crazy.
yeah. But I will
Half
say,
of your targets going to him result in interceptions. What or
yeah.
what?
But I do also want to note, even though we lost the game, I do want to note Mo Ibrahim still got his yards. He got 100+ yards this game and a
Yeah,
touchdown.
in the ugliest way possible. 30 carries.
In the ugliest way possible. Like, I know Mo fought for every yard, and on every play he was on, Mo was being Mo. In terms of like how Ethan played, of course he didn't play too hot.
I thought honestly,
I would admit that, but I thought
I sat and watched. So I sat and watched the whole game, right?
Yeah.
I sat and watched most of the game. They score the last touchdown to go up to 45 or whatever, and I was like, all right, I'm done here. Like, I don't need to drag myself through the rest of this, you know? And so I thought Ethan played pretty well. Like, I mean, the pick, you know, I think it's a pretty bad throw, even with like the context of MBS getting dragged down by the defender, which should have been called PI, if not defensive holding at least. Like, yeah, the ball just hits the safety in the head. Like, I mean, it's a bad throw. But other than that, like, it's the same thing that we've been talking about for multiple weeks now. Receivers are not getting any separation. Nobody's open. The pass blocking is inconsistent. People are like, "Oh, what about Brev?" Like Brevin had a good day. 5 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Like, that's a great day for him. Like, you're very happy about that. But I mean, every time we went to him, I just found myself asking, "Why aren't we doing this more? Why aren't we doing this earlier? Why aren't we doing this more often?" And then on second watch, it's because the tackle play is not where it needs to be right now. Yeah. And they are using him so much in run blocking, and they're to help out your tackles, and sometimes in like RPO pass situations, he's got like a chip and release, which is really not what you want to be doing him, because you don't have a true deep threat right now to stretch the field.
Yep.
And to open up your like RPO slant game that you really want to be running. You don't have somebody who is providing a cushion or like making the safety think about like anything more than 10, 15 yards, like at all, because they're just selling out for the run, which they should. And Brev is not being used in that way. He's not being used to put pressure on the defense right now, because he's basically being used as an extra blocker.
Correct. And I read my notes about Ethan. Like, I thought in the highlights he didn't look too great. Obviously, those highlights are showing the bad play, especially from Big Ten Network. Yeah. But looking at it from my end, like, I rewatched a bit of the game. Ethan, for what he was thrown into, again, he only had the week to develop. He didn't look flustered, if that makes sense. No. Like when he's on the sideline, Tanner's there in his ear, like, where they're talking things out, looking at the plays, like, okay, what do you want to do next? What works for me?
Very calm in the pocket too. Correct. Very poised.
Like, I don't know. Like, to me, I felt like, I think Ethan, I hate thinking about this right now, but we have to.
Don't do it. Don't.
I think Ethan is making the right steps to develop.
Okay.
As fine. A quarterback, like,
that's fine.
A very focused mindset.
I've been seeing a lot of like Twitter chatter about like, oh, just play him instead of Tanner the rest of the year. I'm like, you guys are out of your mind.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not for starting him like for the rest of the season. No. But I think, like, his first start, again, a whiteout, 110 Penn State fans in the stands, mostly, cheering against us, loud environment, hectic environment. I think Ethan stood tall as best he could. So I'm excited for the future, like, you know, once Tanner leaves, but not right now. I love the way how, like, again, unfortunately, Brevin was, like you said, our top receiving leader for this game, 5 for 68 yards. And
which is not like a bad thing. Like, that's fine.
Not, but it's like, we want to see it more. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of
I want to see it earlier. I want to see it earlier.
Like, I swear, like, I know Laurent loves talking about Brevin because we've talked about him for literally, I feel like the entirety of the podcast when we started this, we want Brevin to be like a TJ Hawkinson or a Noah Fant that Iowa had, because remember, those guys were scary.
The game changers.
Game changers against Iowa.
He's not that. He doesn't like have. He's not. Like, those guys are much closer to being receivers that are just big enough to play tight end. Yeah. Whereas Brevin is way too big to be a receiver.
Correct.
He is like he's a lineman who's small enough to play tight end. Like, that's who he is, and like, he is extremely athletic and smooth. And you saw some success when they would split him out into the slot.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, why don't we see that more? Like we touched on before, it's because he's being used in blocking so much, and
Yeah.
that's more of a like an offensive scheme problem than a Brevin problem, if you ask me. It's like, why are
Yep.
you constantly finding yourself in these situations where you need him to help out blocking? Like, don't you have running backs who should be able to chip, or like other tight ends who should be able to chip, and then you just throw Brevin in a slot as a receiver, basically? Like, who
Yep.
cares? Like, where's Nick Calrip? But whatever.
Yeah. And then other than that, I will say as well, I did like one of the plays here. Lemeki Brockington, even though he only had one catch for 33 yards, that was
Yeah.
a big play.
Hmm.
When I saw that, I was like, where's Lemeki in all this, man?
Yes, but again, lacking consistency, right?
Yep.
Not getting separation really for the rest of the game. Like, and even that one, that's a nice catch with a defender on you, and like you need more of those. But every single one of those can't be like that, you know. And I
Yeah.
think
And I
you
agree.
don't really have any burners right now. You've like MBS keeps seeing the field because he is one of the faster guys on the football team. He's the only guy who's really going to threaten to take the top off of the defense, but defensives have just kind of decided that they're not worried about that anymore. Which
Yep.
why would they be? Unless you show the propensity to do it and consistently beat people with it, they're not going to respect it, and I don't think they should. So, it's tough because you're really missing like Chris right now. I think you're seeing
Yeah.
like people were worried, and we even talked about like how big of a loss is Chris going to be? Like how hard is it going to hit this team? And I think we're seeing now that it's a little more impactful than we all would have liked.
Correct. And I'll be honest, I think I might have overreacted, if I'm being quite honest, post Michigan State, because I thought, like, man, we dominated Michigan State, and it just turns out their secondary is actually pretty atrocious in the conference. So, I did overreact. I will say that. I do admit that I overreacted, and seeing a few games
I
in
mean, in
now,
hindsight, you overreacted, but that was a
yeah,
dominating win.
it
Like
was,
it's not that much of an overreaction.
yeah.
It's
But other than
it's
that,
more of a more of speaking to like the chaos of college football, and that every week is so different, and that like
oh, for
even
sure,
team to team there's so much change, every week, that like
yeah,
who knows what's happening. And I don't know, I'm a little disappointed with Daniel Jackson. I thought we'd see a little more impact from him, but
yeah,
he's probably, I mean, I haven't like dove into the all 22 or anything, but I mean, I'm sure he's drawing a lot of attention from opposing uh, defensive coordinators. I think they have clearly circled him as the do not let this guy beat you on offense,
yep,
because if you allow Daniel Jackson to get going, it opens up the rest of the offense for the Gophers, because everybody knows we want to run the football. And unless you can make the teams respect the pass, which the teams are kind of defaulting to, we are not going to respect the pass until it becomes a problem,
yep.
which I think is the right way to defend us right now. But you're seeing teams just absolutely sell out to stop the run and say, let your quarterback beat us over the top. And we just can't do it. So,
Yep, for sure. But other than that, I think that's all I have from post Penn State.
yeah. I mean, a couple things I want to hit on. The
Yeah, go ahead.
defense gives up 479 yards of offense. It's like their worst performance since the Maryland game, where they gave up like over 600 in the COVID year that we don't talk about. And then
Mm-hmm.
third down for Minnesota, 2 for 13,
Oof.
unacceptable. But why is that, right? Why is it 2 and 13? Because your average down and distance for third down, I would guess after this game, I would guess your average down and distance was probably like 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 10 at least,
Hmm.
which is just not feasible. It's not something you can consistently execute. I mean, 46 rushing attempts, 3.6 yards a carry. That's bad. I mean, 8.8 yards per pass, 9 for 22 is not like 9 for 22. It's a bad completion percentage. 8 yards per pass is like not meh. That's like fine. Um, they win the time of possession, 31-28, which is weird. But that's
Very weird.
because well, the other thing, how did Penn State get to 45 points against a Joe Rossi defense? Well, the pillar of the Joe Rossi defense is don't give up big plays. They were number 1 in the country in not giving up big plays last year. Every single touchdown that
Big
was
play.
scored, Yep, there you go. Every single touchdown that was scored this game by Penn State was on a big play. So it's just like it's hard because there is so much crap to sift through for this team right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inconsistency, a lot of uncharacteristic stuff, and then there's a lot of weird tendencies that they're putting on tape. Like Justin Wally has that interception, right? The second drive of the game? No. It is the third drive of the game. Wally gets an interception, right? Returns it to 37 yards to Penn State's 14. It is 0-0. Nobody has scored. You have had 1, 2, 3, 4 drives go back and forth, 2 for each team. You get a pick. You almost get it returned the whole way. You get it in on Penn State's 14. Run. Penalty on third down.
Ugh.
Run. Field goal. What in the world? See, this I usually am not one to harp on like play calling in college because I think in college it's really hard to kind of understand what game plans are, what you feel comfortable with your team, and like week to week with 18 to 22-year-olds is just so hard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be consistent for you on a week to week basis as an offensive coordinator? But to go run on 1st and 10 and 2nd and 8 in the red zone and not even try to throw the ball. Now, we might be talking about like RPO reads where, you know, the slant's not there, the seam's not there, as we talked about. Because usually what happens is the progression is like you look for the handoff. If you don't like, if you hold the ball out for the handoff, you look to your slant. If the slant's there, you pull the ball, you throw the slant.
Yep.
If the slant's not there and the run looks bad, you pull the ball and you hit whoever's pushed up the seam, because if they're taking away the slant, they've got a guy sitting in a bubble zone, a hook zone, and you can just throw right behind him, right in front of the safety. That's fine. That's where Brevin lives and dies. That's where like he like wants to be. And then if none of that's there, you just hand the ball off. And I think maybe that's what happened 1st and 2nd down, but I really would have liked to see some like clear dropbacks on either 1st or 2nd down there, because you are up 3-0 on the road in Penn State. You have a chance to go for the throat here, right?
Yep.
You get the touchdown. Now you're up 10-0, right? What's a field goal do for you? It's a once they score a touchdown, they're winning anyway. Like I'm usually one to, I mean, I've done this on this podcast a couple times where I've been like, oh, I can kind of understand like the Purdue 4th down, the one at Illinois we talked about last time. Like, oh, I can kind of understand it for these, that, whatever reasons. This one, I don't know. Like, I can't justify this one. That's what really bothered me, and that's kind of what like made me feel like, oh, this is going to be a long game because we're just refusing to take any risks. And like, I know people are like, oh, it's first game with a young quarterback. You don't want to risk him and have him make a mistake that's going to cost you or something. And I'm like, dude, you're inside the 20. Like, your field goals are not cutting it. Field goals are not cutting it tonight. You need touchdowns. And it just felt like they didn't even try to go for a touchdown. They were just like, okay, hopefully Mo breaks one, and that's our only chance. And it's like, oh, God, like, it just sometimes you have to live a little, PJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly thought the game, if I had to say it, was more conservative from what we did the last couple of weeks. Like, the last 2 games was what, Purdue and what was the other? Illinois.
I think just what we just talked about.
Yeah.
What we just talked about. You go 3 drives in a row, basically not doing anything. I mean, the false starts kill you because they take you off plan. They put you behind the sticks. They don't let you really do what you want to do. You don't really have plays in your playbook for 3rd and 15. You know what I mean? Like, that's not where you want to be. So I mean, I get those for the first couple drives. Like, the first couple drives are like, blech, basically, but they were like that for everybody. Like, the whole game was a mess from the beginning. You know, Penn State's first drive, 3 plays, 4 yards. Our first drive, 3 plays, -4 yards. Their second drive, 3 plays, 8 yards. Then we go 6 plays, 29 yards. 2 plays, 2 yards, and a pick for them. And then we go 4 plays, -3 yards, and kick a field goal disgusting, horrible, like from everyone involved. You know what I mean? But like, I just really thought in that moment, I was like, you, you, like that field goal has you go up 3-0. Just looking at the scoreboard now, I was wrong. It shows it as 3-0 field goal. It doesn't show it as like 0-0 field goal, then 3-0, which is weird.
Oh,
So yeah, you go up 3-0. I guess you take the lead, but like, I don't know. I don't really care about field goals in this game. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I just don't. I would. I get it. Oh, young quarterback, whatever. No, like, let the kid throw. Let him. Like, too much of this is like
Yeah.
playing to not lose. You have to play to win.
And I will also note this too, like, I liked how Ethan played during like his reserve role. Like, obviously, we're playing on script for like the kind of offense PJ and Kirk Sharka runs run, but when I look at Ethan's tape from high school and a little bit when he's with us with the Gophers, he is going to try to buy time and extend the play or be a gunslinger. Like,
And he's got his eyes downfield,
yeah,
which is great.
correct. And I was sad to see like even though like I mentioned he looked very poised, looks very mature for where he's at as a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
I want to see more gunslinger. Like, I was like, we have the like. I was surprised too. Like, we got a pick.
You can't throw to guys who are covered, man.
Correct.
I don't think he trusts anybody to win a 50-50 ball for him not named Brevin Spanford at this point, like,
Yeah.
and I think Brevin gets those because he's, a 6'8" athletic freak, and I just don't. I don't think he. I mean, I think he's rolling out and he looks downfield and he sees MBS with a guy standing right behind him, or, Daniel Jackson with somebody on his pocket. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
It's just, and he's being told your one job is to not turn the ball over, like,
Yeah.
and he's not going to do that, and I think that's good. I like some of the downfield throws you did see. Some of them were a little inaccurate, but they were inaccurate in a positive way. Whereas sometimes when Tanner is inaccurate, it's like, oh no, cover your eyes.
Yeah.
But Ethan was inaccurate, like towards the sideline or out of reach of his receiver. He was really not inaccurate in a way that was putting the ball at risk, which is good. So I think he played with a lot of confidence and he played well for what was the situation in front of him. But I keep coming back to this. You just need consistency from your playmakers, from your offensive line. Like, you need somebody to step up and be a playmaker for you who's, not named John Michael Schmitz or Brevin Spanford, or Mohamed Ibrahim, and you just don't
We don't have that
right now.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah, we just don't. Right, with the loss last weekend, obviously losing 17-45. We're now 4-3, 1-3 in Big Ten play as we go into our next game here, Soup. We are at home, back at Huntington Bank Stadium, which is so weird, a 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff at home. Apparently, according to the news, there's a big top 10 volleyball doubleheader in the Big Ten, so that's why.
For TV.
Yeah, for TV. So
That's, sure.
So hence a 1:30 kickoff. I'm like, all right,
I like a 1:30 kickoff. It's great.
don't mind that. But going into this, so it's going to be just some quick notes about this game. So it's going to be the first game where PJ will actually coach against Greg Schiano. The last time the Gophers played Rutgers was in 19. That was under interim head coach Nunzio, I think,
Sure.
when they fired Chris Ash. And then before that was when Tracy Clays was still the head coach, and we were playing against Chris Ash's staff at Rutgers back then.
Yeah,
as well,
and PJ and Schiano have some history too.
Yeah, they
which
do.
Is fun.
Like, I'm not sure. Did you ever see Greg Schiano's opening press conference when he got hired?
No, I did not.
We kind of figured, like, I was talking with Griffin and Wyatt and Laurence. I kind of figured where family, forget about me, I love you came from. Greg Schiano.
I wonder where that one came from. Yeah.
Greg Schiano. So
yeah,
you can
I
tell
wonder if
like,
that's a Jim Tressel thing.
maybe, I don't know, because I know PJ worked on the Jim Tressel. I think Greg worked with him too, or
A long time.
yeah.
Long time. Him and Schiano.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where originally came from, but you can tell they come from the same cloth, the kind of like coaches that they are. So it's good, again, exciting. The student who coached under the teacher is now they're seeing how this game goes. But
Yeah, PJ was an assistant at Rutgers under Shiano the first time he was in
yep,
Piscataway.
as a wide receivers coach, and then he went on with them to Tampa Bay, which
Yep.
wasn't too hot, but all right. But going on from there, so some quick stuff. I know you hate this. It's ESPN's FPI, but it's easy to read off my current list right now. Gophers are favored by 88.5 percent right now versus Rutgers 11.5. Betting odds right now as of today, Monday the 24th, minus 14.5 for the Gophs, over under being at 41.
Hmm.
And as for record wise, Rutgers is in a similar boat as
41
us.
over under. Yikes.
Yeah, right now, in terms of record, overall record, Rutgers the same boat as we are. They're 4-3, also 1-3 in conference play. And I'm just gonna rattle off like their record so far this season. They sweep the non-conference, so they beat Boston College by 1. They wrecked Wagner. They won by 2 against Temple, and then they have a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Iowa to open Big Ten play, and this is the game where Iowa actually scored more than 20 points, 27-10. But I feel like it was a lot of the points came out from turnovers against that Iowa defense. Obviously getting wrecked by Ohio State. They lost in Nebraska by 1. And then they beat Indiana last week. And the wins against Indiana was after they fired their offensive coordinator. I think Mike Gleason was his name, or I'm not
Yep.
sure what his first name. But he got fired because they wanted to change in like what they want to do offensively, and that was the first game without him, and they won.
Sean Gleason.
Sean Gleason. But yeah, overall, in terms of who's starting quarterback, I think we're going to see Noah Vedral from Rutgers side of the ball.
Shouldn't matter.
Noah Vedral, if it sounds familiar to some of our fans, he was a former quarterback for Nebraska until he transferred to Rutgers. Other than that, nothing. I don't know. What's his name? One of their receivers was formerly of the Badgers, Aaron Cruikshank, as well.
Yeah, and of course their defensive coordinator is going to be very familiar with Kirk Soraka, being former
Ross Smith.
Gophers, former Gophers DB's coach Joe Harrisimiak.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, Ross Smith got fired too. I forgot about that. Never
Yeah,
mind.
it used to be Rob Smith, the Teflon man himself.
Yeah. So I feel like when I look at Rutgers, and that's just like I haven't seen all their games here, Soup, but my initial thoughts is that I feel like Rutgers in the same boat as the Gophers. They're still trying to find their identity for this team, and they've been struggling because obviously they weren't getting it done offensively this season so far. That even though they did pretty well non-conference wise, they were struggling in Big Ten play, a lot of turnovers as well. I don't know. I feel like these teams are very comparable in terms of like trying to find their identity right now. But I think overall, though, the Gophers have the talent to, I think, overcome that. Like we have Mo still again. Like Muhammad should be starting this game healthy still. I'm just not sure what to expect out of the rest of our offensive playmakers besides Brevin and Mo. And right now, Tanner is still day to day from what PJ said in his press conference, so we don't know. Again, we
won't know until Saturday.
Yeah, until Saturday, day of the game, if Athan's going to take the start or Tanner. I don't know.
Not even like top 5 on my list of concerns right now.
Like right now, I think this spread is too big. When I see this, like I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think. I hope we see a really different team on offense, just like philosophy-wise, against Rutgers. Because I think after this Penn State game, like this Penn State game was embarrassing. It's on national television in prime time. Like that's embarrassing. And I think they, throw the kitchen sink at Rutgers, basically. Because they're like, we need to figure out something. We're better than this team, and we're running it up until we find out what's going on,
Yep.
So I think this is going to be like a real big, but the thing is, you're coming against a defensive coaching staff who's very, very familiar with you. So I think you need to see a lot of tendency breakers in this game, because right now you have way too many tendencies. Just like, I mean, from like a game, from like a play calling standpoint, a formation standpoint, and like if Brevin Spanford is lined up in line with the um
Tackle.
with the tackle, there's like a 70% chance it's a run play. You know what I mean? It's like you're putting a lot of tendencies on film right now, and you're going to have to break those tendencies this week, because this Rutgers team is going to hang around if you let them.
Correct. Yeah, and I also want to say that too. Even though Rutgers has been struggling to find it, like when I see this team, Greg Schiano, whatever he's teaching them, they're going to fight, even though like they're down by, in the case of Ohio State, a big chunk of points. Like they're there to play, and if you fuck up, like what Indiana did last week, like I watched it, that game was close until Indiana fucked up and Rutgers took the win.
Yeah.
So like the Gophers should not be, obviously, like we should never sleep on our opponents, like how PG always does it, like one game championship season per game. But like this is a game where like, hey, put the foot on the gas, beat the shit out of them, and get a win.
You know, PJ's gonna want to beat his old boss too.
True.
Like, I mean, like there's like, but they just have to execute this week. You know what I mean? No, it can't be messy. It can't look like it's looked. You got to come out the gate and you got to say, no, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. If you want to run the football, good. Get off the line of scrimmage. Start pushing guys off the line. You're not doing that right now. You're not getting nasty. You're not winning battles up front on either side of the ball. Like the other thing I want to talk about that we didn't really touch on for Penn State, it's another thing we've said for the last couple of weeks, is the defensive line and the pass rush.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not existent. Like where's Tom? What happened to Thomas Rush? Is he on a milk carton somewhere? Do we know where he is? Like, the last thing I can remember him doing was punching the ball out at Michigan State. Like that's it. Like it just. You need someone to produce for you. I mean, is it Jalen Logan Redding? I think whiffs on the quarterback. You know, he gets through and then tries to make. And that's the other thing. You get your hands on the quarterback, it's a sack. Like you can't. You have to cash those in. And I'm sure Joe Rossi's pulling his hair out right now trying to figure out why they can't generate any pressure, because they have a good group of coverage DBs, and I don't think they want to pull guys down into the box or into blitz.
Yep.
Even because they're so good in coverage that you just don't want. You want to give them chances to make plays on the football, basically, because they're your better players. But you need to figure out something in the pass rush game, because right now, you know, no matter how good those DBs are, they can only cover for so long, right? Yeah. So you need pass rush. When you have good coverage, that's how mistakes are made. We saw it against Purdue. The interceptions that happen because you get pressure on the quarterback, makes an iffy decision, and your defenders capitalize on it. Like,
and that's how you let guys like Newbin, Howden, Wally, like just go up in the air. Like if the ball is 50-50 and it's perfect for them, like they can make the play. Like I thought that's what I liked about the Purdue game. Like the defense got pressure with just 4 guys, or even if Rossi dialed up the blitz to bring a safety in or a linebacker to dial up the blitz there, our DBs made play. Like I thought that was our identity on defense. And as you mentioned it, the D line the last 2 games here has not gotten up pressure or any pressure at all on these quarterbacks.
Here, I'll call my shot here right now. So here's what's going to happen on Saturday. Rutgers is going to come out, and they're going to just start throwing those little tight end seam routes that Penn State was throwing. Mm-hmm. That's all they're going to do to start the game, is they're going to go right at Mariano, right at Braylon Oliver in coverage and say, figure it out.
Yep.
Because they couldn't at Penn State. They could not. And if they can't do it again, then they're just going to keep attacking them. That's the other thing is your defensive backs have been very good in coverage. Your linebackers are well, Braylon's not too slow laterally. Braylon's he gets his eyes caught in the backfield too much. Mariano is just too slow side to side to be really, really good in pass coverage like that, and he's getting exploited right now. And he's a great run defender. He's a smart player, but he just is not the top-end athlete that can turn and run with a Big Ten tight end a lot of the time.
Correct.
we are going to see that exploited again. What is the answer, right?
Yeah, and I'm curious how that's going to turn out. But I think for me for this game still consistency. I just want to see that. Like, if we can be
Yeah.
consistent and play our game how the Gophers always played their game, we'll win. Like that's who we are, and that's how we
Yep.
win. But
I really want to see us win in the
yeah,
trenches on both sides of the ball, because you're not getting a lot of push on offense. You're not getting solid protection when it comes to passing plays either. Uh, but on defense, like we said, you're not getting a pass rush, and you don't seem willing to blitz extra guys, which maybe that's what they decided to do. Which they mix it up a little bit, but just not as much. They really just want to play, you know, they really just want to play their coverage and get pressure with four, which is, in an ideal world, what you would be doing, but just not getting any pressure with four, and that has to change. So.
yeah. So yeah, I'm curious how this game is going to go. But as always, we'll be rooting for our Gophers to get the win. So it's gonna be, well, you'll be there, Soup,
Yep,
obviously. So have a fun time of the game. But
I will try.
let's get into some predictions done. So I'm gonna say W, but I'm gonna say the Gophers win it 28-21.
I'll go 28-13 Gophers.
Okay. Alrighty, righty. Going on
So
from there, anything else?
um, yeah, I just want to say to everybody, like, the sky is not falling. It's annoying to watch them lose 3 games in a row like this, where you lose a close game that arguably should not have been close
Yep.
against Purdue, and then you just get walked up and down the street 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody wants to see that, but I think we all need to kind of like step back and remember, like, this where this program was before, and the reason why we're all so upset now is just because of the expectations that were had on this year. If you
Correct.
finish this year 8-4, I think you're still happy.
Correct. And
R-
like in my preseason, like Griffin and I and Laurent said we're going 10-2. Like if this was a Jerry Kill or Tracy Clay's led staff back in like the 15-16 when I became a freshman or a student here at the U,
Makes me feel so old.
I know, right? I would not have said we will go 10 wins because at the time I know we bitch about him back then. But he's like he broke records as a quarterback, but Mitch Leidner was our quarterback back
Oh my
then.
God, please no.
We didn't have a receiver that could get separation back then. Of course, we had Shannon Brooks and Rodney Smith at running back. But like outside of like that, I was like, I would never like maybe get us to 8 wins for a Clay staff,
That's a
but
great year.
and that's just a great year. But then for PJ, like going 10 wins or more is like go be like
Well,
that's the expectation now. But
well, I think the expectation is 8 and
yeah,
4. I think is the expectation now, and I
yeah,
think
and I can see that. Like I can see us going 8-4 this season or dropping to 7-5, and that's still
yeah, like all
bowl
of that
game.
is still in play as is. I don't know if you follow like the Sickos Committee. It's like a stupid college football account on Twitter that just tweets wild stats or like scenarios for uh, college football. There is technically a scenario in which there is a 7-way tie for the Big Ten West, ending up with a 4-8 Northwestern team winning the Big Ten West. It is
Really?
mathematically possible.
Holy crap!
So I mean, like that's just college football for you. You know what I mean? Like
True,
it's still
it
wide
is.
open. Like it's still anybody's game at this point. And like, I'll read this off. This is from Tony Liebert, who, if you're a Gopher sports fan, you don't follow Tony, please do. Uh, PJ Fleck is 27-13 since 2019.
Yeah,
He's 14 games above 500 in the last 3 years. Like, let's there are definitely legitimate questions, right? There are definitely questions I think we can all have right now. I think
Yep.
philosophically the offense something is wrong with, because I think we're seeing more that last year there was a Mike Sanford problem, obviously last year,
Correct.
but I think we're seeing this year that there's also a bit of a depth problem. And I mean, you lose Bucky Irving, that stinks. It's good to, watch him tearing it up in Oregon. Like, he deserves all the NIL money too. Like, I'm never ever gonna fault the kid for that.
And
Like,
Kai
never, never.
Thomas also transferred to go back to
Yep,
Kansas,
yep.
and he's
Go,
tearing it up with Adrian Martinez up in that
but
roster.
like, Kai's not really playing.
True.
Like, but like MJ Anderson's playing starter reps for Iowa State. You know what I mean? Like, the transfer portal and NIL have changed the way college football is. And I think we're in this like weird reactionary period just kind of across the sport where building a team is building a consistent team is now more difficult than ever because there's so much roster turnover. And I think the Gophers are kind of feeling that because PJ was a guy who was dependent on guys staying for 4-5 years in his program, right? Like that was their thing, is long-term guys on the offensive line, long-term starters at key points, and then bringing up young guys underneath them with talent, right? Like that's the formula that he wanted. But it starts with having this foundation of third through fifth year players that you can rely on every week to be consistent for you, something we touch on every week, it feels like. The transfer portal, NIL, have completely changed that, and I think we're seeing everybody, like, this is a wild college football season up and down. Like, I think we're seeing everybody kind of suffer from their rosters turning over so much, and I think the Gophers have done a good job in the portal, so I think they will continue to do that, and I think it will help them in the long run, but there's definitely questions about like the offensive philosophy. You're on Soraka again. It doesn't really look the way it should. Is it a scheme issue? Some of it's a scheme issue. Some of it's a talent issue. But like, it's TikTok time. Like now people have expectations. Like I'm not saying like his seat's warm at all. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think he is truly like a long-term plan here for the AD for Mark Coyle, and I think he sees himself as that. But I think we might see a little more turnover on the staffs than we may be used to.
Yeah, I could see that happening. But I'm just hoping. I think we still have 5 games ahead. Honestly, again, we have Rutgers, and after that, Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Games that, especially in the case of towards the end of the season, Iowa and Wisconsin are our rivals.
You're definitely through the meteor schedule. You're through the meteor schedule by now.
Yeah, so I just think we still have 5 games left. Don't count us out just yet. Like I think we're far from be contending for the Big Ten, like going to a Big Ten title game. But I think we can salvage it to be 8-4, 7-5.
This can still be a successful season.
Correct. Yeah. Like
right. But you got to take care of business now.
Like I may be smoking some crack here, but I can see us theoretically still winning in the last 5 games and going 9-3.
I mean, look at just from like a Vegas perspective, you're favored in 3 of the last 5 games at least.
Correct.
And I would argue if you play well in the 3 games leading up to Iowa, Wisconsin, the way they've looked this year, you're favored in those games as well. So, like, this at the beginning of the season, we looked at this stretch: Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, Penn State, and we said those are going to be tough games. You're going to need to come out of those games ahead or even, right?
Mm-hmm.
You did not. You are 1-3. That's why it feels like this.
Yeah, for sure. But cool. Well, thank you so much, Soup. So everyone, thank you for listening for the first segment here of the podcast with just myself and Soup. We're going to go through a quick intermission, and then we'll bring in the other guys to give us their reaction post Penn State and preview against Rutgers. And that'll be it for the episode. So stay tuned for the next portion. Soup, thanks for joining in on the first half here.
Thanks for having me. Now I'm going to go watch the Bears make me sad. So, bye.
All right. Welcome back to OPA Podcast. Everyone, welcome back from intermission. We're back from our break. Now let's head on to segment 2 with Griffin. Say hi, Griff.
What's up, everybody?
Along with Wyatt, who's finally back after a brief hiatus.
There's 3 brutal losses on my hiatus. Oh, God.
Yeah. So we're back for segment 2 here. Again, everyone, we're going to be recapping the Penn State game, preview Rutgers, and any other items to wrap up on at the end of the podcast. Today, we're still missing one host, which is Laurence, but however, for the fans, Laurence chimed in with impeccable timing before the podcast. Besides first-year law school sucking, from what he says, everything sucks. We're trash. Go Gophs. To quote Laurence Guider.
My man.
Yep. But going on from there.
Tory, but
yeah, in Badger territory. But the good things rolling, boys. So recapping the Penn State game, the Gophers obviously lost 17-45 in Happy Valley during the whiteout game. There are some not great things and some good things that happened with this game. So I'll let you guys take it away. What are your reactions and thoughts from Penn State?
Well, my initial reaction is, why are we so stubborn on offense now and play calling? I don't get it. Like, you start out, you try for 2 whole quarters to try to run the ball. You break off some okay runs, but that's not sustainable for long drives down the field. The Gophers' best chance at winning this game was playing with the lead. They kind of had a lot of momentum in the first 5-10 minutes of the game. You have the interception by Wally. You have the field goal. I mean, Beaver Stadium sounded like a Rutgers FCS matchup. Like, it was quiet, and that was the Gophers. That's what the Gophers needed to capitalize on, and they did not, because they kept trying to play the run. They kept getting beat on the line of scrimmage, getting hit in the backfield. They wouldn't pass the ball, and Penn State didn't really have they completely disregarded pass coverage because they knew we were wanting to run the ball. If we just mixed up our plays, we could have been a lot better. So
I think on that note, I think this is why we don't see the fans who are calling for Tanner's head, calling for, seeing what Ethan has for the future, getting their way quite yet. Because I think we came into this game without Tanner, and Shiraka said, all right, if Ethan's going in, we've got to truncate the playbook. We've got to lean on the running backs who we know are going to move the ball. We've got to give Ethan a little bit easier of a time. And, it's not that I don't believe that Ethan's got something. There's definitely a spark there. But you go 9 for 22 in the Big Ten, it's not how you win a football game.
And that's on third down, right? Just confirm. Was that our third down conversion rate, or was
9 for 22 is his
his
completion.
passing? Yeah, my bad. His completions. We also didn't do well on third down too. So
yeah, no. Obviously, you're not going to win if you're not converting third downs. But you're also in an age of football where even the Big Ten is starting to move away from the run. You're not going to win football games with a quarterback going 9 for 22. And, you can lean on one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in Minnesota history, all you want. Eventually, a team is going to catch up to you when you're not, starting the guy who's become one of the key leaders of this program. And whether people like Tanner or not, Tanner's the guy.
yeah, for sure. I will say this from the last segment. Soup's main thing was that TLDR, we were also very inconsistent as well. Like from he meant part of this game, but also the last 2 losses we've had prior to Penn State. The Gophers couldn't really find the groove. Like, we were very, very one-dimensional. We were losing the battle in the trenches. Receivers not getting separation, and then when they do, they make great plays. For example, when Lemeki Brockington had his one reception for 33 yards, Brevin being the threat he is, that's being a 6'8" tight end. more consistency on that front. But also, Soup also mentions besides the consistency, Brevin being more towards being helping on the blocking side because they don't trust the tackles, from what Soup says. So there's a lot of things that Soup did say the last segment. Just so our fans know, that's a 45-minute segment, people, and he had a lot to say about those key items. So I'm in agreement with Soup on that. Like, hey, it's not consistent, and you know, I kind of want to say it, but I don't want to see Ethan start because I think it's Tanner's role to be that puts us in the best position for the remainder we have in the schedule. We got 5 games left in the season, and I think he gives us the best shot to win for the remainder. But again, right now he is currently still in a concussion protocol, and we're not going to know shit until this Saturday morning.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled for Ethan to, be the starting quarterback. I think there's a spark there. I think that we have a very talented kid in the backfield, a very bright future coming. I want that start to come next year. Let's get Tanner back out there. Let's get back to, playing that brand of football that's sort of designed around what Tanner can do, what Mo can do. That's how we're going to win football games this year.
That is our defense played, I think, this game too. Not necessarily bad, but they were just on the field for too many plays, I think, for a lot of it. Like, they just got worn down. But there were some bright spots in Wally, Newbin, and Tea Time. Like, I think Newbin probably had one of his best games as a Gopher.
It's very good to see Wally show back up. Because Wally had a just terrible game against Illinois. It was like he wasn't even there. And then to show up with the interception and, play a solid game, it's nice to see one of the bright spots, one of the bright young players on this roster pop back in and play his game.
But I just don't think I've also seen as much inconsistencies and like miscommunication on the defense than we saw this last game. We had a couple blown coverages, and maybe it was the environment. Maybe they just weren't ready for the snap. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I think this next game that we have coming up will be I guess I don't even want to say like rebound, because I don't want to discount Rutgers, but like a good, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for.
We need to get in there. We need to handle our business. We need to tune things back up because, we've slipped off since I think the Purdue game really shook this team up. They didn't look good against Illinois, and, they fell off against Penn State. And part of that is that the defense was just got to the point where they were tired.
Yeah.
But it's time that we need to just sort of play the game back at our pace. We need to make Rutgers sort of come to us and beat us. And I believe we can beat Rutgers? Yeah. Does that mean that we should take Rutgers lightly? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Before we move on to Rutgers, great segue, guys. Was there anything else you want to mention about the loss against Penn State outside of us getting back to business?
Special teams.
Besides Matt Trickett, I think was 100% on field goals because he only had the one. 2 for 2 in extra points. Mark Crawford had a lot of punts that day, I think. I'm not sure what the stat line is at.
A lot of punts is never great, but as long as we're not making the mistakes, that's what's really key.
Yeah. Like I will say, I was kind of wishing for a positive special teams play like we saw in said Illinois game.
45.2 yard average on the punt. I like that.
We like that. Yes, we do.
If we have to play a field possession game, that's a good place to be.
All right. Anything else from you, Griff?
The only thing I'd like to say is I just hope that in future games, if they ever see their game plan get disrupted, that they just adapt quicker. They did in this game, but just too late. It was pause at that point. That's it.
All right. So moving on, our next game will be against Rutgers at home. It is a 1:30 p.m. kickoff Central Standard Time. It's such a weird time, as apparently it's a volleyball doubleheader, which is going to be a very fun showdown from what they're making it out to be. So it's going to be a early afternoon kickoff. Right now, in terms of what we're seeing from Rutgers, they have the same record as the Gophers. They're currently 4-3, went 3-0 in the non-conference slate. Currently 1-3 in Big Ten play. Their lone win in the Big Ten was actually last week against Indiana, where they won by a touchdown. But some stuff. Griffin and I, remember, we went to Rutgers back in 19, the season when they fired Chris Ash as the head coach, and was it Nunzio was their interim. And after that, they hired their current head coach, Greg Schiano, PJ's mentor, along with some of our former Gopher staff working for Rutgers. In particular, Sue corrected me on this, Joe Harris-Simiak is the defensive coordinator for Greg Schiano's Rutgers right now. Formerly, before him was Rob Smith, who we know got canned from Minnesota after year 2. And a couple other guys on the D-line as well, coaching-wise. That's all the notes I have regarding staff turnover. In terms of players, we might see Noah Vedral getting the starting nod. Maybe not. We'll see. And then I think Aaron Cruikshank, former receiver from Wisconsin's also on the roster. A familiar name as well. But any initial thoughts about this game coming up?
I mean, we know Rutgers does not have that strong of a football program. Even just pointing to the loss to Nebraska, you can see that, because Nebraska was in disarray, continues to be in a little bit of disarray, but Nebraska beating Rutgers is not a good sign for Rutgers. That said, you can't sleep on a Big Ten opponent. Look at what happened at Purdue. We all expected Purdue to be a game that we took pretty handily, and Purdue came in and beat us. They just came in and played a better game than we played, and we can't let Rutgers do the same thing that Purdue did to us.
I mean, kind of like I mentioned earlier, too, I think this is just that get-right game. Get it? And Wyatt kind of mentioned it, too, just run our game plan and execute it well, do our business on all sides of the ball. Offensive line, don't give Tanner or Ethan solid pass protection. Push the line so that Muhammad isn't met in the backfield with some resistance. Defense, just continue to play your heart out and get off the field quick. I mean, this is a game where we can do all of that. But it's also a game where if we're going to end up playing like we did against Penn State, Rutgers is more than capable of beating us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And this is a game where we sort of just have to get right. If we can't get right here, we're not going to. If we lose to Rutgers, we're not going to beat Nebraska next week. There's no way. Get right now, or get out of town.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to mention as well, in terms of the betting odds. So as of yesterday evening, Vegas is favoring the Gophers by -14.5. Over under is 41, and I'm like, I'm not taking that at all in terms of the betting odds. I don't know. What do you guys think of the Vegas odds for that?
Depends which Gopher team shows up.
True.
I don't know.
Well, the Gophers are 4-3 against the spread this year. Rutgers is 4-2-1 against the spread this year, which is a weird thing to be tied against the spread.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's gonna depend on partially if Tanner's the guy or if Aiton's the guy. But it's also just gonna depend on, like Griffin said, which Gopher team shows up. Is this a team that's going to play defense and get off the field, give our guys good field position? Is this a team where the offense is going to be able to run their game plan smoothly? Because the Gophers can win this game by more than 14 points.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But the Gophers don't have to win this game by 14 points. They can play a very good game and win by less than 14, or they can play a very bad game and not win by more than 14, or even lose this game. It's all going to depend on what we see out of this team this week. And they got to show some fight and, get back on track.
Yeah, for sure. Going from there, you guys have any keys to the game then? Obviously, we're like, getting back on our playbook here, but is there anything specific you want to clarify further?
I mean, offensive line play, run blocking, and pass protection for a quarterback. As long as our quarterback doesn't get a lot of pressures and plays can be extended, there's a chance we can extend drives. I think that was a big problem against Penn State, is there was just never too much extension of any plays. And you never know what happens when a quarterback gets out of the pocket. Usually a receiver finds a way to get open. They might not be running the right route or anything close to what they were assigned in that play, but shit happens. So
my hope here is that another week of adjustment is good for Ethan, because I don't know if Tanner's going to start. If Tanner's there to start, yeah, put the ball back in Tanner's hands, put some faith in your quarterback. You can beat Rutgers. But even if Ethan starts, you can beat Rutgers if he adjusts well, if he's ready to go, if you put a little bit of faith in him. Maybe you're still calling a somewhat simplified playbook, but, you can – Ethan's showing that he's got some promise. Let him throw the football in comfortable situations, and you can win this game. You don't need to, let Mo get his 150. That's fine. I'm happy if Mo goes for, 200 yards or whatever. But, let Ethan get in some throws while the game's still comfortable.
I think for me, besides all great notes here, guys, and also from Soup from the last segment, I think no matter which quarterback is in, I'm with Soup on this one. I kind of want to see us use Brevin more in the passing game, either be lining him up in the slot or pitch and go from the from the starting offensive line at the line of scrimmage, just because he is a big threat. And if it's Ethan or Tanner, especially for Ethan is a taller quarterback than Tanner, I will say that, and Brevin is a big target at 6'8", and you saw that against Penn State, where Brevin was that safety blanket, that check down in the middle of the field. So I want to see more of Brevin. Like, I know every year, since we started this podcast, we're like, come on, use Brevin more, and like we never get to see it.
Hans' biggest thing was use the tight ends in the passing game.
Correct, and we never did, and I still want to see that. And of course, Brevin got his share this last game as well. Like, even though we lost, Brevin was at that with the final box score, he was our leading receiver, just because he was able to provide that safety blanket, and I think we need to use him that way. And I think they've been using him incorrectly for the last 4 or 5 years he's been with the team. So I hope to see more of that, but I don't know. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
I think it's important to note, it's something I say a lot when I look at the NFL, is look at these young quarterbacks and look at them and watch their relationship with their tight ends. The tight end is sort of the security blanket for the young quarterback in football. So, let Brevin be Ethan's security blanket if Ethan's starting this game. Let Brevin be the guy who's going to find a way to get open, especially when Brevin is one of your top weapons. We know Michael Brown-Stevens is going to be the guy at wide receiver, but, I think Brevin's a more reliable guy. Brevin's the guy who, if I have to, find someone to get the football to quick, I'm looking for Brevin.
Yeah. And I know Soup, if he was here, he will probably disagree with you regarding MBS.
Soup, I'm not saying that Michael Brown-Stevens has had a good run of it so far, because Michael Brown-Stevens is struggling a little bit in the wide receiver one department.
If you want to hear a stat,
obviously we wanted Crab.
If you want to hear a really astonishing stat, courtesy of Soup, of all the targets that he's had, half of those targets resulted in interceptions, which is a big yikers. I'm more of the line of, I think Daniel Jackson is our guy, but I feel like he's been, like Soup mentioned, I feel like he's been covered more, but also not getting separation. Again, same thing with the problem with the receivers, trying to get more separation and running your right routes and making the play on the ball and beating the defender. But I don't know.
One of the big things about Michael Brown-Stevens is that he's not like a great route runner, and he's not a very big guy at wide receiver. So he's gonna get beat on the ball. If you don't place that ball to him well, a defensive back's gonna have a chance at it. And that's where that stat that Soup brought in is coming from, and I'm sure Soup knows that as well as anybody. If you give Michael Brown-Stevens a good chance with the ball in his hands, he can make you a play. But Michael Brown-Stevens isn't going to win you games.
Hell no.
Whereas Brevin Spann-Ford might. Daniel Jackson might. Obviously, Mo can. And, we need to start seeing... Well, I'm not going to say we need to start seeing Ethan can now, because in a perfect world, Tanner plays. But it would be nice to see whoever the quarterback is this game show that they can take the ball and help you win a game. And, hopefully in the future, Ethan shows he can take the ball and win you a football game.
Yeah, for sure. Anything to add on top of that, Griffin? Or you got anything else to mention about this game coming up?
Rumor has it Dalen Wright will be suiting up, so I think that'll hopefully help us. Other than that, just whoever, yes, like Wyatt said, we really hope Tanner's QB1. This is a game too where we can, where we're going to try and establish the run early, but I'd like to see us mix up some plays too and have the ball spread around a little bit. But it would be nice to see, because Brevin is bigger than all of Rutgers defenders. Rutgers doesn't have, well, I guess in college football, there's not many people Brevin's size. So he is going to be a guy that's going to win us this football game. If there's going to be anybody, it's going to be Mo or it's going to be Brevin.
Or both.
Why not both?
Well, hopefully ample amounts of both.
For sure. Going on from there, boys, let's do some predictions then. So before we get into the scores and the L's or W's, I do want to recap our current scoreboard of our preseason predictions. So surprisingly, Laurent is on top. He is 6-1 in his personal record. Wyatt, you and me are 4-3.
We're awful.
And then Griffin is 3-4. And then Soup, and during his time, he's currently 2-1 because he didn't give us a preseason, so he just gives us whenever he's on air. So he's 2-1, which is a big asterisk on that and his prediction. So Yeah. But let's go into wins and losses. So I said in the first segment, I said we're winning the preseason, but I am not taking that minus 14.5 spread. I'm saying the Gophers go on top 28-21. We'll win by a touchdown.
You are taking the over, though. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm taking the over 41. However, for Soup, he says we'll take the dub, but it'll be 28-13.
Interesting.
For sure.
Soup's taking the spread, too. Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
I'll let you guys decide on who wants to take this score.
I'll jump in here because I don't have us on the over or taking the spread, but I do like a win. I think 21-13 sounds just about right here. And, winning by 8 points is winning. It's getting back where we need to be going into a stretch of games that's not going to be easy.
Yep. And so you're not going to take the spread, and you're going to take the under.
Spread, I'm going to take the under, but I'll take the Gophers for a dub. This is still Rutgers, and this is still a winnable football game. Prove it to me, boys.
All right, Griffin, you're the last one. Let's go.
27-20.
Ooh.
Win.
All right. Cool. Well, we're all saying doves. Boys, Gophers, go get them. All right, that will conclude our preview of Rutgers as well. Going into some other topics. When we're recording this segment, it's after Monday. It's Tuesday today right now for this portion. I know if Soup and Laurence were here, they'll probably be. I know Soup last night was like, I'm gonna watch the Bears break my heart, and they won.
So the Bears absolutely did not break his heart. Oh my God! They did not. That is the best the Bears have looked this season, probably.
They have.
That's maybe not saying a ton. The Patriots did not look good. I think that game was more telling about how bad the Patriots are than it is how good the Bears can be. But
yeah, it was a fun game to watch for a little bit. Yeah, like I know off air, Soup was like, "Oh, I'm watching the Manning cast," and then was talking about how much he hate Troy Aikman and Joe Buck as a pair.
We
all do.
Manning cast is the right call.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was watching a bit of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman because I didn't have the Manning cast on traditional cable. Just so you guys know, I was recording the Penn State games and uploading that to our private server. But moving on from that, there's this talking about oh, Mac Jones this, Mac Jones that, and Bailey Zappi, and I'm like, stop this. In last night's game, but no, it was a fun game to watch. Looks like the Bears look really great. Obviously, our hometown Minnesota Vikings were on bye this past weekend as well, so they'll be playing against the Arizona Cardinals coming up. So that'll be an interesting game.
What should be a very, very fascinating game.
Oh, for sure.
Because, we're going to figure out how good this team actually is. We're going to figure out we might learn a lot about Arizona, too. Because Arizona has not looked good. The Vikings have looked quite good.
In their division, the Seahawks is leading with Geno Smith in the NFC West.
That's why Geno didn't write back.
I'm more interested in a potential 7-1 Bills-Vikings matchup because that would be the worst 7-1 battle on planet Earth because the Bills would absolutely smoke us.
The Bills are a phenomenal football team.
They are.
The Bills were the Super Bowl favorites in the preseason for a reason, and they looked good against Kansas City. If anybody was watching that game, Buffalo looked good.
They do. But other than that, more trash to poke around at. The Lions being the Lions right now in the division. And then obviously
fumbling the
I
ball.
feel so bad for Detroit because it looked like they kind of had it together right away in the season, and it's just fallen apart.
Yeah. So much for Dan Campbell biting kneecaps so far. And then obviously, always got to give shit to the guys across the Mississippi River on the other side of the border. Green Bay is getting their asses whooped. My favorite was when they lost to the Jets, but they lost to the Commanders last weekend. And
I think the loss to the Commanders looks far worse.
Oh yeah,
the way the Jets have been playing, the Jets have been playing winning football. They're 5-2.
Yeah.
The Commanders have not been playing winning football. But
and
they
also,
walked out with Taylor Heineke and they beat Green Bay.
They did. And also, I do want to mention Ben St. Juste, I think, started that game too and played all defensive snaps for the Commanders. So he eaten.
He earned it. He earned every second of playing time he gets.
I mean, I think his style of play is just summed up by that Darnell Mooney pass breakup on from Monday night, and I'm like, yep, that's classic St. Juste. That is St. Juste defense to a T.
For sure. And I do want to want to dive into some other stuff as well outside of the NFL. Our men's hockey program, the Pride on Ice, is currently still number 1 ranked in both polls. And with that, this past weekend, we in the first night in our rivalry against North Dakota, good old North Dakota, we won the first night 3-2 in OT. And then we lost 5-4 in overtime the second night. And I had to I didn't watch the second game, but you guys confirm this for me. Apparently Pitlick in his celebration threw a stick into the stands and got a 10-minute penalty.
I think that was Brock Faber.
Or was it Faber?
I think Brock Faber, yeah, he did throw his stick, and then a UND fan ended up throwing it back because it went right to him. But yes, he did get, I think he did get a 10-minute, but it wasn't a man advantage.
Okay.
So it was still 5-on-5, but he just had to sit in the box.
Got it. Okay, so it wasn't a situation where we were like a 10-minute power play.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you want to mention that women's hockey is doing women's hockey thing? I'm sorry, ladies. I don't know your ranking right now for that.
Probably pull it up real quick.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Gopher women's hockey. They're in the top.
They are number 2 under Colgate. It looks like.
Okay. So they're number 2 in the country. So go ladies, go wreck them. And then other stuff as well. Gopher soccer, women's soccer is doing pretty well as well. So just one quick roundup of our other Gopher sports that we also follow. And then obviously excited for basketball. They have we got some good guys returning on the roster. Some guys we brought in via transfers, but also not this season, but in the seasons to come, we did snag a 5-star recruit, which I was surprised about in terms of like Gopher basketball recruiting. So you go, Ben Johnson, you go.
I mean, Ben Johnson was the guy that got us Amir and Oturu and all those dogs. I'm not surprised that Ben Johnson can bring in 5 stars. That's been his stick the whole time. Patino's just been the coach, so
literally. But cool. Well,
I saw not too terribly long ago that Patino was trying to badmouth the program.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure that's why he's not coaching anymore.
Wait,
seems like
he got relieved from New Mexico State already, or when he left the Gophers.
I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know where old Richie Pitino is anymore.
Oh, he's at the same school with Jerry Kill. New Mexico State, I think.
Pitino. Currently head coach of New Mexico Lobos.
Oh, New Mexico, not New Mexico State.
New Mexico.
Okay, never mind. Sorry, wrong school. But other than that, anything else you guys want to chime in about our other sports? Any hot takes? If you got any?
The reason you thought New Mexico State is because Jerry Kill is head coach of the Aggies.
There we go.
the other head coach.
But yeah, nothing else, boys?
I got nothing else.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, let's end the night here. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to episode 54 of OPA Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this new method we're trying out. Again, 2 segments with an intermission. Let us know how it turns out. You can let us know that way. And also your feedback through SoundCloud as well, or Apple Podcast will help a bit too. If not, check out our social medias or reach out to us privately if you know us in person. But hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a great night and have a fun time with the next home game coming up. If you're going to watch the game or sitting at home, doesn't matter. Enjoy your time and have an elite week up ahead. And row the boat, Skyamago Gophers. And I'm one of your hosts, Jason O, along with
Griffin Most.
I'm Wyatt Okers.
And we'll see you guys next time and have a great week.
Hope.